What federal agents found inside that building didn't just shock investigators, Buck. It rewrote everything we thought we knew about who was protecting this city.
Breaking. $50 million fentanyl ring, 400 arrested, 28 exposed.
Responsible for the distribution of enough fentanyl for more than 3.5 million lethal doses.
At 4 minutes past 4 in the morning, the city of Minneapolis was still asleep. The temperature had dropped below zero. Streets were frozen. Sound was swallowed by snow. That silence wasn't accidental. 18 unmarked federal vehicles moved without sirens, headlights dimmed, tires crunching softly as they surrounded a modest brick building on the corner of Cedar Avenue and 26th Street. To the public, it was known as Riverside Haven Legal Aid and Migration Services, a place of help and a place of trust, a place families went when they had nowhere else to turn. But intelligence reports told a different story. Behind the frosted windows and motivational posters, investigators believed something far more dangerous was operating. Not a law firm, but the logistical heart of a $50 million regional fentanyl network spanning Minneapolis and Chicago. At 0407, the knock came. Federal agents, search warrant, open the door, no answer. 4 seconds later, the breach charge detonated. Agents rushed inside, expecting paperwork and panicked staff. Instead, they were met by armed sentries. This wasn't legal defense. This was security. Within minutes, the ground floor was secured. But it was the basement that changed everything. There, next to filing cabinets and court briefs, sat industrial mixers, chemical drums, and sealed bricks of a substance known on the street as white ember, a synthetic fentanyl variant 50 times stronger than heroin. This wasn't a front, it was a factory, and this raid was only the beginning. Agents didn't understand what they were seeing yet. The full scale would shock even veteran investigators. By sunrise, Minneapolis woke up to chaos. Headlines screamed, "Immigration raid." Protests began forming before the full story was even known. But behind the scenes, federal agencies had already activated Operation Iron Veil, a citywide and cross-state takedown years in the making. Over the next 12 hours, our coordinated ICE and FBI teams hit warehouses in Chicago's Englewood district, shell nonprofits across the Twin Cities, transport companies on Lake Street, and residential properties in North Minneapolis and South Chicago. By nightfall, 400 arrests. Yet fentanyl was not the most disturbing discovery. Inside the senior office at Riverside Haven, agents recovered a fireproof safe. When forced open, it revealed no cash. Instead, there was a single grain notebook. Investigators would later call it the shadow ledger. Inside were names, badge numbers, patrol schedules, and monthly payments. 28 police officers and municipal officials across Minneapolis PD and Chicago PD. Every entry detailed a service rendered. Delayed response times, tipped-off raids, missing evidence. For years, residents had complained that emergency calls went unanswered in certain neighborhoods. Now, there was a reason. The network hadn't just infiltrated the cities. It had insured itself. But the ledger revealed something far worse than bribes. When federal vehicles attempted to transport high-value detainees out of the Riverside district, they ran into something unexpected. Not police resistance, civilian resistance. Hundreds of people flooded the streets, linking arms, blocking intersections. This wasn't spontaneous outrage. It was organized, timed, and deliberate. Armored vans were struck with ice-packed snowballs. Windows rattled, and our drivers were boxed in. Commanders knew the risk. One wrong move would turn a law enforcement operation into a viral disaster. Weapons stayed lowered. Instead, A final option was deployed, a long-range acoustic device. The sound wasn't loud, it was painful. Within seconds, the crowd broke formation, hands flying to ears as the blockade collapsed just long enough for the convoy to escape. But the distraction had worked. Because while agents were focused on the street, and something else was happening. Inside a federal data center, serving both Minneapolis and Chicago operations, the lights went out. Emergency generators failed to engage. Servers went dark. Cybersecurity teams realized instantly this wasn't a power failure. It was a wiper attack designed to erase every digital trace seized during the raids. Targeted files included scanned ledgers, encrypted communications, and financial records linking the network to political donors and community leaders. With seconds to spare, agents physically severed the facility's fiber lines. The malicious upload froze at 97%. The evidence survived. Then came the final shock. Forensic tracing of the attack didn't lead overseas. It didn't lead to foreign criminal infrastructure. It led to an IP address registered to Minneapolis Municipal Data Services, City Hall. The next 72 hours changed Minneapolis and Chicago forever. Federal agents appeared at police roll calls with handcuffs, but campaign offices were searched. Bank accounts linked to the ring were frozen. Public officials resigned overnight. Final numbers confirmed the scale. 400 total arrests, $50 million in lethal substances seized, 28 public officials and officers indicted, one legal institution permanently shut down. The fentanyl supply in the region dropped by more than half in a single week. But the real damage wasn't chemical, it was moral. And because Operation Iron Veil revealed something far more dangerous than drugs: the weaponization of trust. The network didn't hide in alleyways. It hid behind credentials, behind nonprofits, behind legal language, in community slogans. In modern America, the safest place for a criminal enterprise isn't the shadows, it's legitimacy. If a law office can be a mask, if a badge can be bought, if justice itself can be rented, then the real question isn't how this happened. The question is, how many times is it still happening right now?